and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Well, it's a typical early June sort of conditions, of course, when the rainy season is just setting in. Well, it's just setting officially, and it's nice to have you with us again on another presentation of Beyond the Headlines. Today this evening we'll be talking about Spicemas 2022, and whenever you hear about that, of course, the person that would come to your mind immediately, obviously there are other persons that will come to your mind, but Arley Gill obviously has got to be that person that will come to your mind very, very quickly. So he's in the studio with me here this evening, and I want to welcome him. Now, just before we came onto the set, I said to him that he needs to point me in the direction of a couple of dashikis, so rather than having the conventional jacket and tie, I could look something like him, but that's something that we can have more discussion about. Ali, good evening and welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Of course, I follow you all the time, especially in cricket.
Yes.
I love my cricket. But just on the issue of the dashikis, maybe I could just take the opportunity to make a little plug as the chairman of the Grenada National Reparations Committee.
Yes.
To ask persons on the 29th of July to wear something African. We want to have a national African Wear Day on the 29th July. Of course, on the 1st of August is Emancipation Day.
Yes.
But that's a holiday. So the last working day before the 1st is the 29th. That's a Friday. So we in the Grenada National Reparations Committee, we want to urge all our fellow Grenadians to wear an African attire, to go to work, to wherever you're going on the 29th of July, with something African. And you from St. David's, there's a Rastafari dynasty. Where is it? Somewhere in Croshu area there?
Okay.
On the top side of the road, they sell good quality African outfits.
Okay.
Yeah, so next time I see you, I know.
You should see me. I've been to Africa a couple of times, but that's several years ago.
Right.
And I did bring back with me some African attire. But that's been quite some time. I've outgrown them. I've gotten a little bigger, I think. So I need to get...
Yes, I think it's extremely important that we identify with our ancestors and so on what we wear. Of course, the jacket and tie, we understand where it came from as well. So I do as much as I can within our space to ensure that some Afrocentricity is brought out in our being and so on, because we are simply not existing, we are living, and we need to express ourselves and bring out our culture. Of course, you have the African wear, you have what I refer to as Caribbean wear as well, because we're in the tropical space and that kind of thing. And of course, the jacket and tie for our more formal outings and workspace.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you seem to love culture and sport. It's almost part of your DNA, so to speak. Now, and you grew up in St. John, if I'm right. How did you really get into that? Where did this passion come from? What attracted you to sport and culture that even today it's still part of your psyche, so to speak?
I don't know. Growing up in these communities in those days, we had no television. So you play cricket, you play football, you do athletics, you play table tennis, you swim, carnival come and listen calypsos and so on the radio, listen, and I guess it's just something that you're born and you grow with, basically. And it just stay with me. So
you did all of that all those that you spoke about. Where did you get the time to do it, though?
I don't know. You make the time. You make the time. From school you play football, cricket. I tell the youngsters is, nowadays, long time we're playing softball, cricket from 7 o'clock on a Sunday, win ball competition in golf, and by 12, 1 o'clock you go and play another hardball match. Even during the weekends, one fellas playing football, they play a bush league game at 2 o'clock, and then the bigger boys go play a GFA game at 4:30. They play 2 games in a day. Now, before the youngsters walk up the hill, they're tired.
Right.
But I know footballers playing 2 games in one day, and cricketers playing on a weekend as much games as they could get once they have the time. That's how we grew up. I guess there was no television, no other form of entertainment. So it's sports and culture.
Right. So we're talking Spicemas 2022. Obviously, there were some challenges involved, especially in the aftermath. Aftermath may not be the correct word because the coronavirus virus is still here. But the coronavirus obviously affected Spicemas for the last couple of years.
Yes, well, we didn't have. This is the first time in 3 years we have in Carnival. 2019 was the last, and I became chairman of the Spicemas Corporation in November of last year. And the first task was really to develop some plan, some program, some proposal to share with government of how we can do Carnival in the pandemic and how we can do Carnival if things get better after the pandemic as it is now. And so that is why we came up with the plan A and plan B, showing the government the worst case scenario and also to show to them that if things get better, we can transition into what we refer to as a more full Carnival or a normal Carnival. And I think we were able to do that, and we were on track basically. And then, of course, we had elections up to the 23rd of June, which significantly impacted on the Carnival season in a serious way. You would have seen all of the artists stayed on one stage or the other. So we had Soca Monarch preliminaries and so on during but in a serious way it affected. The guys were not going to studios. People were distracted generally, and it was difficult to compete with the election campaign basically. So now after the elections we are pushing on, because Spicemas is here, and I dare say that we are on the road. Spicemas is here and we are ready, basically.
You have Inter-Caribbean Airlines. They are on board. How important it is, and what exactly are they doing in regards to the other territories? Extremely important, because
air travel, inter-regional air travel is a serious challenge. We have to have 2 flights to Grenada a week, and so to travel between the islands is a tremendous challenge. All the islands are complaining about it. What we have with Inter-Caribbean, for one, they are sponsoring some of our promotions, even all of the regional artists that are invited by Spicemas to perform at our events. They will be carrying them for free. Well, that's part of the sponsor. From the beginning of this month, when persons land with Inter-Caribbean in Grenada, the air hostess will say, "Welcome to Grenada, home of Spicemas." So that, and also we have an engagement with them and a direct line with regards to if there needs to be additional flights and so on. We can press that button, and we are eternally grateful for the CEO at the Grenada Tourism Authority, Ms. Petra Roach, who really worked seriously to ensure that we have that link with Inter-Caribbean, and we are grateful, really, really grateful with the partnership with Inter-Caribbean. So far, I have been to St. Vincent promoting Spicemas. We going to Crop Over. We have been looking for an engagement with St. Lucia Carnival as well, and we are sowing the seed of marketing our carnival in all of the major regional and international carnivals. But with regards to the regional carnivals, Inter-Caribbean again is partnering with us to ensure that we get the word out there that Spicemas is the best mass in the Caribbean. But there still seem to be some challenges. I had talks with friends from Trinidad and Tobago who are suggesting that it's quite a challenge. It's a real challenge. From Trinidad, it's a real, anywhere basically, it's a real challenge. We can only do so much. We can only do so much with the Inter-Caribbean flights, with the couple of Liat flights, and Caribbean Airlines from Trinidad. It's limited. It's not normal times, and the COVID has had a real impact on interregional travel. Even out of North America and Europe, we are experiencing challenges as well. Persons could tell you of the cost of the tickets to come from New York and Toronto and Miami and so on. It's astronomical. But here again, the GTA was able to work to get additional flights, and as much as they can, because obviously these airlines are private entities and so on and so forth, so that they, at the end of the day, have the final say. But over the last couple of months, we've been working very hard to see how best we can improve the airlift to Grenada for Spicemas, because Spicemas is our major tourism product, and we believe that Spicemas will is a good opportunity for us to jumpstart the economy post-COVID, and as such we have done as much as we can to ensure that we get as much economic activity in our space, in our economic space during the Spicemas.
Any major snag you're facing in preparation for those particular events?
I think the major snag was just over in the 23rd of June.
Oh, fair enough.
Because it pushed back the tents from rehearsing. For us were not going to the tent. Leaders were complaining, nobody coming to rehearse. The musicians were there and so on. The artists not rehearsing. We have issues with the masqueraders and the mass people in terms of getting their material and so on. And of course, with COVID, the chain link to get the supply chain issue of getting materials here to Grenada is a tremendous challenge. I mean, fortunately, Trinidad is right there, so in some instances that has assisted. But persons who want to go further afield with regards to China to get material, that has been a challenge as well.
You talk about, of course, Inter-Caribbean. Do we have some other sponsors locally here that are involved?
Of course. Well, NLA the National Lottery Authority has been the financial backbone of Spicemas. They've always been there for us. Flo is on board, Glen Elg. I don't want to start, I don't have the list in front of me,
okay.
But of course, we have a list of Grenadian companies that has always been there with us and supporting in one way or the other, and we are grateful for that support. Without them, we don't know, our product would not be the same.
Is the door open for other sponsors to come on board?
Of course, including GBN. Of course, we are looking for more partnerships, more engagement, and in some instances, it's not just cash, but we can assist in like we want to be able to add value to some of the prizes that we give to winners and so on, like the Soca Monarch winner or second place can get a room for 2 in a hotel. Similarly, a room for 2 in a hotel, a flight for 2 in a hotel. A boutique can sponsor clothing, a clothing voucher and that sort of a thing. So of course there's a lot of room for private businesses to play a role in making Spicemas even bigger.
Yes, so while we're talking about the subject of Spicemas, but there you've got the Soca Monarch competition, you've got the Groovy, and you've got the Calypso competition. So let's look at the Soca Monarch competition. What do we have in regards to the prizes for that particular event?
Right. So we announced today that we have made some adjustments to the prize monies for the Soca Monarch. Mm-hmm. In 2019, the prize money was $49,500 for the first place, and the second place was $27,500, and the third place was $22,000. So that between the first and second place, you had $22,000 gap between first and second place, and then you would have had about a $5,000 gap between third and second. So we thought that we needed to make an adjustment. So what we've done, first prize now, we rounded it off for $50,000. Second, $40,000. Third place, $30,000. So there's just a $10,000 difference, consistency between the first to third place in the Soca Monarch.
Right, we wouldn't want to the Groovy and Calypsos yet. We're just going to look a little bit at the Soca. With which means that it's the highest award, so to speak, prize giving for those who come first, second, and third, as the case may be. When you compare it with the other two specialities.
Yes. Because
why so, though? I mean, and I ask that from the context that if you look at the genre of music, obviously calypso has been around for a much longer time. Ras Shorty, I produced the first soca album back in 1974, so it's a relatively sort of new art form, if you want to put it that way, although 1974 is quite some distance away. But it seemed to be captivating a lot of people's attention, and it seemed to be bringing more money to the artists.
Yes, the soca music is probably the biggest attraction, and the Soca Monarch. Now we have twin both Soca Monarch and Groovy. It is the biggest show for Spicemas in terms of attendance and revenue generation. It creates the most excitement and so on and so forth. And I understand, I'm a traditionalist, I love my calypso. Calypso is my first love. But at the same time, one have to be practical.
Okay.
And the Power Soca Monarch is in the three competitions. The Power Soca Monarch is arguably the most attractive and create the most musical dynamic in the whole carnival scene.
But you get the impression that some of the traditional calypsonians feel that they're a little bit undone and maybe not treated as fairly as they should.
Well, they're not too far behind. And for calypso, the first prize is 45,000. 45,000. The second place is 35,000, and the third place is 25,000. So the gap is not too bad. Of course, you would want everything to be even, and maybe we can work towards that, but I think that the gap between the Power Soca and the Calypso is not too far off, but it's something that we can work on to improve. And but Soca, of course, is the biggest revenue generation event that we have for Spicemas.
My son pointed out to me a little earlier on today that there seemed to be quite a bit of concern about the level or standard of the soca competition this year, and some parts of the public seem to suggest that it doesn't have the sort of high standard that one would expect and one would like. You care to comment about that?
I would say it's early days, in the sense that I've been to the preliminaries and the songs have just been released on the radio. Soca music is something that grows on you over time. So I would sit on it for a little bit, listen for another week or two and see what's happening, because because soca music, the more you hear it and so on, it have a way of growing on you. But yes, I've heard the comment with regards to the standard and so on. But I do say I would say though that the groove, we have some really good groovy songs. I haven't heard all of the Power Soca songs as yet, but I would give it some time before commenting on whether or not I think we have a deepened standard or we improve. And you'll find that some years you'll have a good crop of songs, other years the standard may not be. So you have these what I was referred to as quality variations from year to year. Not every year you will have. Ideally, we want to be able to improve in every year, but we have to remember that music and songs is creative, and not every year the artist will have the same level of inspiration to produce the same quality of music. But of course we want to be able to maintain a standard, so artists have to keep working hard. But I would say I need to sit for another week or so and really soak in the music, because they're not now being released.
There are a lot of folk who probably don't value soca music from the context that it may not be what you will call as lyrically sound and pulsating as, let's say, the conventional calypso, and it it doesn't bring the sort of message that would stay on for the next 20 years or the next 15 years or the next 30 years, when maybe 2 or 3 years lower down the road you just don't remember it? Is it just this instantaneous excitement it brings with it? That's what it's all about? Or should it generate a message that should resound and people should remember?
Soca music is more the fun music. Enjoyment, happiness, have a good time. And there are a lot of soca songs with good story and good story lines and good story development and so on that will stand the test of time. But yes, quite a bit of it is for the moment. And if you really want to get in the calypso, the songs with the message, and to sit down and to learn and to analyze and so on, then you'll have to look the way of the Calypsonians.
Yeah, we're going to be taking a short break just now, but is there anyone or is there such a program or facility that would help these artists in terms of the construction of their song, what they're bringing across, and something that would help them develop?
There's some work being done in the Ministry of Culture with the schools in terms of writing and so on, and persons like Teacher Eddie and Scholar and so on, they do, and Black Wizard, and so they do a lot of work with some of the young artists, nurturing and developing and so on. But we need to do more of it, and also artists need to lend themselves to persons who can assist them with their writing and with their musicianship and so. A lot of what is happening too is that you have a lot of what I refer to as kitchen studios, where a lot of the producers simply do their programs on their computers and just create a rhythm without fully understanding some of the nuances of the music, so that when you go to a real producer like an Ajamo or Paul Thomas and so on, the quality is chalk and cheese from what you may just see in any random studio. We have an excellent studio in Carriacou as well. The guys in Carriacou produce top quality music, and they work for top artists in the region and so on. So that we need to, at every level, enhance the skill set of our producers, of our songwriters, and that's the other thing. We need to have a good cadre of songwriters. Not because you could write a song when you could sing a song. So some persons could write, others could sing, and so on and so forth. We have, a few songwriters who do songs for 4 or 5 artists, and so we need to encourage that, because not every person who could write a song could actually perform a song on stage. Traditionally, Chuck Dust and so on would argue that to be a real Calypsonian you have to be able to write your own song. But I think that the industry is evolving in such a way that we'll have songwriters and we'll have performers. So it's an area that we need to continuously work on and put structures in place at the ministry level, at the cultural foundation level, and so. And there's always that system of apprenticeship where older artists, older Calypsonians and so on will teach the younger ones the ropes in terms of writing, in terms of performing and stage management and so on.
We're talking Spicemas 2022. Of course, we've got Arley Gill with us here. We're going to be taking a short break, and then we'll be right back. When we come back, we'll be talking a little bit more about Calypso and also the Groovies. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Good day, Mr. James. I'm just here looking at Grenlec's new mobile app.
Sounds great. Can I use it to check my bill balance?
Absolutely. Let me show you. Enter your account number and Grenlec access number, and that's it. You can now check your balance, track your usage, receive outage alerts, and get updates from Grenlec in real time. You can even use the app to report a power outage or a fault with a pole or street light. Add as many accounts as you want. Track your business account, apartment rentals, and Granny's account, all in one convenient place.
Thanks, Susan. I'll be telling everyone I know about Grenlec's new app.
The Grenlec mobile app. Download for 24/7 access. Are you looking for a summer program that is fun-filled, safe, and mentally stimulating for your child? Then Destined to Win Summer Explosion is just what the summer ordered. For ages 5 to 16, our program includes arts and craft, reading and mathematics, indoor and outdoor games, dancercise, karate, field trips, face painting, treasure hunting, and more. Destined to Win Summer Explosion runs July 11th to August 12th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. We're located on Tempe Main Road next to Ned's Rental. Registration only $10. Spaces are limited, so call Mrs. Bartholomew on 403-8282, 405-8282, or 414-8282 to book today.
When you need your prescription filled or you require non-prescribed medication, supplements, or all your personal needs, visit Gittins Healthcare at locations on Wall Street, Grand Anse, Victoria Street, Brentwood, and Central Deputy Street, Wall. Gittins Healthcare aims to provide an exceptional personalized pharmacy experience. Additionally, children under 5 and adults 55 years and over will enjoy 10% discount on purchases of $20 and over on prescription medication. Stop settling for less. Visit Gittins Healthcare, where your health is our priority.
WeatherGuard Pro. For every project, there's only one Pro.
You heard about the new Soft Weave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Soft Weave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue. Available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Soft Weave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information.
The exciting, dramatic, humorous, and mind-captivating Lions All Mass is back in 2022. The Lions Club of St. George's and Spicemas Corporation brings you an evening of comedy, fun, laughter, and pick-on at the Grenada Youth Center on Sunday, July 17th from 3 p.m. Tickets are available from any member of the St. George's Lions Club, Spicemas Office, Grenadian Optical, Clear Vision, and Gittins Pharmacy, Grand Anse. Admission adults $25. Children 12 and under, pay $12. Come relieve your stress through laughter and be prepared to be entertained by local calypso and soca artists. This is an evening you don't want to miss. The Lions and Spicemas Corporation All Mass, Sunday, July 17th, Grenada Youth Center, 3 p.m. See you there.
And welcome back. Now, before we go further, just to let you know about a program note. Now, tomorrow, God's willing, at 10 o'clock, there will be a special post-cabinet briefing, hosted, of course, by the GIS. So we want to alert you that GBN, along with all its platform will be bringing that post-cabinet brief. It's going to be at 10 o'clock tomorrow, God's willing. The Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, is going to be on. I think he's got a couple of cabinet ministers that will be with him. I think Lennox Andrew and also Dave Andrews should be with him tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So we'll give you more details about that. Please tune into it when it does come on. So let's get back. Of course, we're talking Spicemas. Before the break, we talked about soca. Now let's go to the Calypso competition itself. How are things progressing with that, and where would that be staged?
So far, so good with the Calypso. We've had the Hubbard's Calypso Bards. They have had 2 shows already for the season. I want to applaud them for that, because we've been trying to ensure that we get the Calypso tends to be doing some shows before judging nights, and Calypso Bards has more than done their part in terms of ensuring that their cast of Calypsonians are ready for the judging night. Judging night will be this weekend from Friday to Monday. Monday night we'll have in the judging of the Calypso tents. This year the Calypso finals will be on August 4th, that's Thursday, at Progress Park, St. Andrews. So it's a new innovation. We're trying something different. It has always traditionally been on the March Gras Carnival Sunday in St. George's in the National Stadium. But over the years we've looked at the dwindling numbers of patrons attending the Calypso finals on a Sunday night in St. George's in the National Stadium, and in consultation with the Calypso Association we decided to try something different. One, move it out to the Sunday night to the Thursday to see how that goes, and also to go to Big Parish, where we believe there's a large catchment of Calypso lovers, St. Patrick's, St. Andrews, St. David's area, and to see if we can have an improved attendance and more support for the Calypsonians, and to have a successful Calypso final. So we know that we always have good semi-finals in St. Andrews. So we're hoping that the semi-final crowd will at least come out in the finals and have a very good night of Calypsos. So that's a new addition to what we're trying to do.
It's a little early, but the cast looks good.
Calypso looks good. Calypso looks excellent. So far, so good. I mean, if you haven't been to the Calypso tent yet, you have to go. I'm very, very impressed with the quality and the standards of the Calypsos that I've heard so far. A lot of the Calypsos sometimes don't make it to the radio stations, because some of the Calypsonians believe that they don't get enough play to go and pay to record their songs. But I would want to encourage radio announcers and DJs on the radio to play the Calypsos. We have beautiful Calypsos in the Calypso tent.
We do have a few old guards around.
Them boys still good. We have Grandpa Chin.
Hold on. Don't say Arley.
That's his name is going by this year. That's the name Chain is going by this year.
Chain has started back in the 70s.
Chain has been singing for 53 years.
Oh, that's
and still going strong,
Yeah, Labrador boy, right?
Yes, Labrador. Chain
just about 2 miles from where I live.
And Chain is in the semi-finals of the Soca Monarch, creating real problems in the Calypso tent, singing good music. Yes, man. Chain is around, and but you have good guys. But of course, reigning Calypso King Soursop, the regular Scholar and Big J. But you have good young guys like Philandi Jeffrey and so on who holding their own. I love to see guys like Top Cat and so on come on the scene and singing real good. Rootsman Kelly, he's sharp as a razor. I've heard Smokey in practice. Smokey is back, the Northwest Brigade. Smokey, I've heard Baraka and so on in rehearsal, and yeah. The Calypso have some serious this year.
They shouldn't have anything. They shouldn't be short on subject
No, not on topics. They're not short on topics at all. And I heard a song called 6 for 9 last night. It didn't finish right yet, but it looked as though it's destined for big things. They're not short of topics. They're saying a lot of things.
There'll be a lot of satires around.
Yes, well, I mean, the election campaign has given the Calypsonians a lot of, some of them go back and write their song because they write their song for one way, predicting a certain thing, and then certain things happen. So some of them say they go back to the drawing board. I hope they finish their songs in time to remember it for the judges this weekend. But the Calypso is really good quality, and I want to encourage persons to go to the tents.
You think the elections and the politics, would it affect, would you hear a lot of that coming out of the Calypso?
A lot of it is out of the Calypso. Most Calypsonians, at least one song, is related to, have something to do with the election and campaign. And that's the thing about Calypso's. Calypso's always relevant, topical, and so on and so forth. So somebody taking a slant of something in the Calypso campaign. And I think it's fascinating stuff.
Did the election make it easier, so to speak, for our Calypsonians in terms of topic matters?
Easier, and in some cases, it created a little bit of difficulty because some of them had to go rewrite or to change some of the structures of the song to make it relevant, so that yes, there's a lot of issues that they can sing about coming out of the campaign, but some of them as well, they wrote their song a certain way, and then they had to go back to the drawing board.
Let me just ask you, because of course there are some artists and also soca as well as Calypsonians who are bent along a particular political line. Would that affect them in any way in performing?
Not at all. They sang for the money during the campaign. And for one, the Calypso judges, soca judges, groovy judges, I've said to them, there is no politics in culture. There's no politics in Calypso. So you do not judge someone whether or not you think they're yellow or they're green. Nonsense. We don't do that. Right? So I don't think there's any hangover from which stage somebody went on to perform during the campaign and what they're doing for the Calypso soca groove competition. You're good. But I don't believe that there will be any hangover in terms of influencing the judges one way or the other. And even in the audience don't bother with nobody. If you're good, you're good. I mean, Calypsonians who on either side of the divide, they go to the tents and they get in the encore. The crowd calling back for them regardless of what. So no, I don't think that it will influence the judges or influence the administrators in terms of which side you sang for. I mean, Grenada is so small for that, frankly.
What about judging? All our judges local? Or would we have
all our judges local. I never believe in foreign judges. The Trinidadian judges make their foolishness in Trinidad, let us stay in Port of Spain. I never believe that we have to bring them here. We want to develop capacity here, so that we need, our judges need to immerse themselves in the music, do their research, practice their judging, get on top of their stuff and so on. And we need to build the capacity here. So that's what we did 4 Calypso judging sessions this season, more than any other year. Usually you just have 1 session and forget it. But this year we did 4. Get the judges to be arguing, having discussions among themselves, and developing their knowledge base and so on. And obviously I don't think that they're perfect. I think there's always room for improvement, but we have to continue to develop the capacity of our local adjudicators.
But you're generally happy with them over the years?
Yes, I mean, generally they have got, we disagree sometimes with their final output and so on, but that is it. But all we ask for them, I say to them, judges of Calypso will be judges in the courthouse. Be fair. Don't go with no preconceived bias or prejudices against. Be fair. Judge what you see. Yes, you might make errors in the criteria and so on. That may be so, but please do not be unfair to the artists and so on, because when you're judging Calypso, you're affecting guys, their career, their season, and so on and so forth, and they put so much work into it to be on that stage. If some of us could have been on that stage, we would have been on that stage, so that we have to be fair to the performers.
Let's give us a little insight now as to the groovy competition.
The groove, well, this year, the groove will be called the Brian Griffith Groove semi-final, as we will have the Trevor Friday Soca Monarch semi-final. I think there's a good quality of groove this year. Groove is the youngest of the competitions. And in 2011 or thereabouts, we merged the groove with the power soca. Traditionally, the groove used to be the Wednesday night before Carnival, but 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we moved it to, and that has grown. Well, that has grown massively in terms of crowd participation, in terms of the development and the growth of the groovy music, and so that has really taken off nicely. The prize money is this year for the groove 30,000, the most we have done for the groove. Second prize is 20,000 and third prize 15,000 for the groove, and that's the most prize monies ever we have given for the groove competition. And I remember 12, 13, 14 years ago, you have guys who were winning the Groovy Mona competition and they were not even getting their prize monies. So I think we have grown the Groovy Mona competition, the groovy genre of our music significantly here in Grenada. Give
us a minute or two. We're talking about two figures who have contributed to the art forms. We're talking about Brian Griffith and also Trevor Friday. How important were these two gentlemen in terms of culture, art forms?
Extremely important. I think
let's take Trevor first.
Dr. Trevor Friday wore many hats. He's a former chairman of the Cultural Foundation. At some point in time, he was former chairman of NCCDC. He was arranger. He arranged music for Tangla, Looney Spark, Electrify, and a host of different artists every year. So arranger, producer, promoter. He promoted. Trevor started bringing in Crossfire and so on, having fetes in the Ruins and in Richmond Hill Tennis Court. That's years ago. Before now, show promotions in Grenada is a thing. But in the early days, Trevor Friday was a trailblazer with regards to that. And Trevor has dedicated his life basically to music and culture in Grenada. If you ask anyone around who used to be around Trevor, I used to be in studio. I never was no artist. And me and Trevor would stay in the studio all night. He's working on his music and we're discussing different aspects of music. In fact, ironically, when Trevor was either chairman of the foundation or chairman of NCCDC, Trevor made the suggestion that we need to consider moving the Calypso finals away from the Sunday night and move it to the Friday night and bring the Soca Monarch to the Sunday night. Trevor made that suggestion about 20 years ago, and I wrote a stinging article criticizing Trevor's suggestion. And we met on the cathedral step. He came to a funeral, and we met there and we had a frank discussion on this issue for 4-5 hours. Night cultures there. So that, when you talk about Trevor Friday's contribution to culture and music and carnival and so on, we believe that naming the semi-finals of the Soca Mona competition is a fitting tribute to Dr. Friday and his contributions. And you will see that, the Spicemas Corporation, we are doing our utmost to ensure, as far as is possible, that persons would have contributed significantly to culture, that we don't forget them and their contributions. Similarly, Brian Griffith. Persons may not know who Brian Griffith was because Brian Griffith was never a big singer. He never won no big title and so on. But Brian Griffith brought the Groovy Monarch. He started this Groovy Monarch groovy competition in Grenada, Brian Griffith. Brian played a critical role with regards to the Power Soca Monarch again. But the Extempo competition, Brian was the man behind it. That is to organize the Extempo competition. Brian is to organize. I played an important role in organizing the Tucker Calypso competition in Fantasia for many years. Brian was a songwriter extraordinaire. Many persons would remember Scholar Scotchin song many years ago about Pum Pum. Brian co-wrote that song with Finley. Brian used to write the song, used to write for Soca Stalin, the white boy of Soca. He used to write for Defender and so on. So he wrote a lot of songs and pan songs and so forth. This guy, I would put it, Brian walked up and down the length and breadth of Grenada until the shoe bottom fall off in support of Calypso in particular. He was tent manager, you name it. Brian with all different hats in terms of organizing and being there in the groovy and in the tents and the Calypso, writing, managing, being an administrator and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, Brian has passed as well as Dr. Friday. Now, how do we remember these men and their contribution and their legacy? And here again, you know, with the Calypso Association, in particular GPAC, we saw it fit to name the semifinals. Just as we have the Melody Papitet Calypso semifinals, we believe that Dr. Trevor Friday and Brian Griffith is well deserving of the honor of these naming the semifinals of these respective competitions after them.
And Brian was an ardent sports person too, wasn't he?
Very much so. Sports and culture, Brian, you know, and Brian spent a lot of time in Trinidad, because I remember Brian is the person that introduced me to William Monroe. William Monroe is a Grenadian from River Road, who is the founder of the Trinidad, the International Soca Monarch. And Brian was very close to William Monroe. So I remember when in the early days, and when we talking about the Groovy Monarch and the Power Soca and so on and so on, Brian will call up William for ideas and initiatives and so on. That's, you know, that's in the early days, you know. So now Brian has played a massive role, and he's responsible. Brian is responsible in large measure for where we are today with the groovy. With the groovy genre of folk music here in Grenada, and we believe that is a fitting tribute. And I know a lot of people around the music and so on, especially younger ones, may not know Brian. Now is a good time to research who Brian is and to know who Brian really was. But Brian was a champion.
Well, while we talk about those two champions, we're going to talk about another big champion, which of course is still world renowned, and we're talking about Francisco Slinger and Mighty Sparrow, who is 87, I think. 87
on Saturday.
Born in Grenada here, and migrated to Trinidad, I think in 1937. He might have been 2 or 3 years old at the time. And I listened to a discussion some time ago, and there were some people who felt that the accolade that he's given in Grenada, born in Grenada, but they were a little bit critical in that he may not have contributed to the development of the art form in Grenada as he did so prolifically in Trinidad, and maybe the kudos that is given to him now should not be given. Your thoughts?
And I was a bit saddened by that perspective. Saddened because the Mighty Sparrow is the greatest of them all, Calypso. And when you say he did not, when the argument is that he did not do a lot for the development of the art form in Grenada, the joke you're making. Sparrow did a lot for the development of the art form, full stop. Globally, Sparrow's contribution to Caribbean civilization and to global civilization. Music is a distinctive feature of a civilization, and Calypso music distinguishes us as Caribbean people. And Mighty Sparrow is a forerunner. When you hear about Calypso, you hear about the Mighty Sparrow. So not just about his achievements in terms of winning road matches and Calypso Monarch and so on in Trinidad and winning the Kings of Kings, but Mighty Sparrow's influence on Caribbean culture is second to none in terms of the Calypso music genre. And I continue to make the point that we have two major musical genres in the Caribbean, Calypso and reggae. Calypso is the older of the two genres. And Bob Marley once said that when he heard Slave, imagine Bob Marley following Sparrow music. when he had slaves by Mighty Sparrow, he knew what he wanted to do with his career. So I encourage persons, I persuade people that you cannot simply look at Mighty Sparrow's contribution and say, well, he didn't do this for Grenada and that for Grenada. Look at you'll have to listen to Inspector Elimus Gilbert, Ajamo, Scholar, Val Adams, and these guys to understand how it is that in one way or the other, the Mighty Sparrow would have inspired them or mentored them on a Calypso stage. But you look at the contribution. Sparrow is a colossal figure in Caribbean civilization and world music, basically. He has received honors from all over the world. In fact, the irony is of all of this, criticism with regards to, and all we did was to say, is it Mighty Sparrow Day? Did he have his birthday? Regional and international institutions were saying this is the first time that Grenada has recognized the Mighty Sparrow in such a significant way. But in the past, the Grenada Revolution, 82, 83 or thereabouts, had recognized Sparrow. I think in 2015 he received the OBE, or one of the Queen Awards in 2015 here. We did a plaque led by Sister Judy and so on. This is, may good Lord rest her soul. We did a plaque in Granroy on top of the hill for Sparrow some years ago and so on. Sparrow, in my respectful view, we need to see how we can leverage Sparrow's contribution to the development of the Caribbean society, and we have to take ownership of Sparrow, just as how we have to take ownership of Paulkins Douglas and so. Paulkins Douglas is Grenadian, and one may ask the question, if these guys had remained in Grenada, we may never had a Paulkins Douglas. I've heard about a Paulkins Douglas, the way he has gone on and developed his storytelling and so on. Similarly, if the Mighty Sparrow had never migrated at a tender age with his family, the world may never have seen a Mighty Sparrow. And I say to persons, Louis Hamilton is a second-generation Grenadian. Malcolm X is a first-generation Grenadian. Tubal Uriah Butler was born in Grenada. We have so many world-acclaimed Grenadians that we have to, in some respects, see how their contribution, not just to the Grenada rock and our own geographic space, but to us as a people. Every time Kirani James run, he lifts us up as a people, as a nation. Right? Similarly, when Lewis Hamilton does well on the racetrack and so on, you feel good. So we have to, I believe that we have to look beyond our own geographic space and so on, and to see these persons who, like Sparrow, who have been trailblazers in their different field of endeavor, and the impact and the contribution that they have made to the development of not just the Grenadian society, but to the Caribbean and the world society. There is no second. Sparrow is just the greatest. Slinger Francisco, he's Grenadian. I don't know what else. I don't know if persons think he should do a building in St. George's or a road or do something, but I mean, come on. There's no other like Sparrow, like Vivian Richards. Vivian Richards' contribution is not just to Antigua,
but to the world. To
the world. It's a gift to the world. I mean, Viv is always the greatest batsman as far as I'm concerned. Nobody could be better than Viv.
Yeah, but I think, Ali, the concern is that there are so many local people who have contributed and have given so much to the development of different areas of Grenada, but haven't given the recognition. Let's take, for example, somebody like Sepi Lacret, Daddy Sep, who contributed almost half a century to the development of, let's say, the Queen's Park. We know what he has done there. And you probably ask somebody, you know anything about Sepi Lacret? And most people say they don't. And I have spoken about it. Why couldn't we have something like the Sepi Lacret End or the Sepi Lacret Pavilion? These are individuals who have given their life to the development of sport or culture, as the case may be. And sometimes they're not given that kind of accolade and recognition. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are a little bit disappointed that there are not more Grenadians coming to the spotlight and heralded.
And I say this. Earlier in this year, Grenada National Reparations Committee, we recommended to government that at our 50th independence celebrations, which is 2024, that we should consider the renaming of our monumental landscape, I call it. We're talking about the roads, buildings, and so on across the country, playing fields and so on. Government at the day have accepted that proposal, and we await to see this government's position with regards to that. And that, to my mind, would address a lot of the issues that persons are raising. So that where I am concerned, I'm playing my role with regards to putting forward the issue of recognizing and rewarding Grenadians for outstanding contribution to the society. When I was Minister of Culture, we started the Anti-Tech Literary Festival.
Remember that.
Thelma Phillips, great lady, great Grenadian. On Friday afternoon, we used to take the Ministry of Culture staff and go and sit down by Anti-Tech and listen to stories and keep her company and so on. So we had the Anti-Tech Literary Festival. We started the Grenada Folk, the Kamahon Folk Festival and so on. Kamahon, of course, is the indigenous name of Grenada given by the Kalinago people and so on. So that the other thing too is that we cannot do everybody at the same time. It's just not possible. So that Sparrow now, today, Brian Griffith, Dr. Trevor Friday, but we must not stop there. Because there are so many different Grenadians in all walks of life, in all different fields, not just culture and sport, but in fishing, in teaching, and so on, that we need to find the right, I don't know, geographical space, the right way in which to honor them and their contribution and so on and so forth. So that when persons say, well, you give Sparrow, and Sparrow is Grenadian as any one of us. As any one of us, he may live, so Eric Matthew Gary lived many years in Aruba. Maurice Bishop was born where? Aruba. I mean, and it just, it was a natural thing since, especially after the Fedon Rebellion in the 1790s, Grenadians have always gone to Trinidad in droves. It's a historical fact.
Yeah. So, tell you what, we're going to take a quick break now. We want to alert listeners that, and viewers, of course, that we'll be taking some calls a little later on in the program. So, prepare your questions. And I've already alerted Mr. Gill that he might well be bombarded with some questions. So, we're going to take a break and then we'll be right back.
Gas, clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Rubigas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100 pound cylinders. Rubigas LPG, clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking with Rubigas?
Get Rubis, get going. Are you busy during the week and have no time to go to the credit union to access your loans? Do you wish there were more days available to you? We can help. Our Loan Saturday is back by popular demand this and every Saturday at the GUT Credit Union Grandance Branch, Excel Plaza. Enjoy the peace of mind knowing that you have access to your credit union even on a weekend. So come on in and take advantage of our services every Saturday. GUT Credit Union. It's where you belong.
If there was ever a time to keep and stay healthy, it's now. We at Hills and Valley are here to help you take deliberate steps to maintain your health. We stayed true to maintaining the most comprehensive rates while stocking the widest range of medicines and health devices, including personal protective equipment. There are so many benefits shopping with us. You get great savings through discounts for senior citizens and reward cards for loyal customers. Ask about owning yours today. Visit us at Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George, Jubilee Street opposite the Grenville Bus Terminal, and at Hillsborough, Carrico. Our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street also stocks the widest range of pharmaceuticals. We are with you on the hills and in the valleys. We are Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
Good day, Mr. James. I'm just here looking at Grenlec's new mobile app.
Sounds great. Can I use it to check my bill balance?
Absolutely. Let me show you. Enter your account number and Grenlec access number, and that's it. You can now check your balance, track your usage, receive outage alerts, and get updates from Grenlec in real time. You can even use the app to report a power outage or a fault with a pole or street light. Add as many accounts as you want. Track your business account, apartment rentals, and Granny's account, all in one convenient place.
Thanks, Susan. I'll be telling everyone I know about Grenlec's new app.
The Grenlec mobile app. Download for 24/7 access.
They are the few, the strong, the elite. Grenada, get ready as our sporting gladiators go for gold and glory at the World Championships. Follow every throw, stride, and jump from July 15th to the 24th. Capture the action daily on GBN television. It's the World Championships. The dream continues.
James is going to win it.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
And welcome back, of course, in the studio with me here this evening. We've got Arley, Gill. Arley, we want to talk a little bit now about the panorama, which is also a big feature in Spicemas. Where are we at now? Are the bands up and running?
Bands up and running. We'll have 7 bands. In fact, just before I came to studio tonight, I had a meeting with the Pan Association. We were just finalizing some nitty-gritty for Carnival, and the Pan Association is the most organized of the 3 stakeholders. They do a wonderful job. They, every week they meet and so on. They're very together, and yeah, Pan is in safe hands.
Really?
So, yeah, man. Pan, we have no problems with Pan. They're very well organized, and they know what they're about. 7 bands this year will be participating in Panorama. The COVID pandemic has done a number on them, a lot of instruments and so on have suffered. A lot of players fall on the wayside, and even the preparation for this year's season, we've had I think the CXA exam was pushed back a little bit, and quite a lot of students playing the Panorama, play both junior and senior Panorama. So yeah, Pan has been affected by everything, by COVID, by elections, by everything. But the Pan is in good shape. So what we are doing, what we are attempting to do this year again, we're trying to add value to the Panorama. We believe that Pan must get its space in terms of the Pan must be respected and be elevated, because Pan is an extremely important element in our Carnival product. I say to people, Carnival is not blocko, right? It's not hi-fi music all about the place, just making music from boom boxes and so on. Pan, mass, and calypso and so on, the different art form and artistry. And I believe we're in for a nice Panorama this year. I'm encouraging persons to visit the Pan yards. Extremely important. The Pan yards lime is some of the best lime you'll get for Carnival. The steel bands are rehearsing, getting ready for Panorama. A little food cooking, a little cooler drinks, a little bar running and so on. It's a nice lime, and the Steel Band Association soon would release the dates for when they're having the official Panyard lime, which is something we want to engage the public with as well. So it's not just Carnival, it's not Carnival climax is on the 8th and 9th of August, but there are so many things you can do before the climax of Carnival, and one of them is to visit the Panyards. For Fantastic Saturday Ultra, we call it. We're doing after the panorama, after the pan competition, we're going to have a show, and the original WCK of Dominica, the original Booyah champions, they would be here performing alongside all of our top international Grenadian artists. So we are just confirming the list of our artists, but we want to make Fantastic Saturday Grenadian in every essence. And of course we have WCK from outside, from Dominica, but we also would have all of our top artists performing after the panorama. So it's a good fete, a good event, and we're celebrating Pan on Fantastic Saturday Ultra.
How big is it in Dominica? I hear you talking about that guests coming in.
WCK? They are the as I say to people, we in the Southern Caribbean, we are Trinidad soca artists, and Trinidad soca music is predominant. And we know of the Bajans, and we know of the Vincentians, of course. But I think WCK is known throughout the Caribbean, a very prominent band, and Latin America and Europe.
Yeah.
All kind of fishing day. I think persons know the song, but they don't know it's WCK. And over the next couple of weeks and so, they would know who WCK is. There are a lot of massive Caribbean hits. They go to all of the different carnivals like St. Martin and Antigua and St. Lucia and so on and so forth.
So let me ask you though, there haven't been no relatively new bands, steel bands in Grenada over the years, have there been?
There is a movement in St. Patrick's that is, I believe, in the next, if it wasn't for the COVID, would have been much stronger now. But I remember, even when I was in culture, we were trying to see how we can get a steel band out of Cultural Parish, Crown City, or St. Patrick's catchment area. Years ago, they had steel band in St. Patrick, but that has faded. But we believe that St. Patrick and St. David, as two rich cultural parishes, should really have a steel band. Most of the steel bands are in St. George's and St. John's. St. John's have 3 steel bands. And of course, Rainbow City All-Stars.
Why it hasn't destatalized to St. David's, for example? There isn't anything outstanding there over the years. What may be the reason for that?
Well, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, you really need a champion too. You need a champion, a pan champion.
Like everything else.
Like everything else. You need a pan champion in St. David's that would leave, eat, and sleep pan and say, I'm going with that. And then he brings along 2-3 persons. And of course, we'll give the support. There was a nice little pan movement in Carriacou some years ago, led by Mr. Sylvester. Unfortunately, this year he passed. I don't know now the status of the steel band in Carriacou, but we believe every parish should have a steel band, because I say to persons, look at how many young persons are engaged in the steel band. It's really a social movement of persons learning to play an instrument, learning to play music, and so it's not just about carnival. It's when school children come from school in the afternoon and so on, parents know where they are. They're in the Panyard learning to play an instrument. It's a wonderful thing, So I believe it's an excellent. When you talk about programs for the youth, the steel band movement is a ready-made program for youth development.
What about access to the instrument itself, the steel pan? Are we thinking maybe futuristically about having good pan tuners here? People can get into that, because that's going to play an important role rather than depending on Trinidad for everything.
We are moving in that direction, and maybe it's a good time to salute Mr. James Clarkson. He facilitated about a month ago or so the idea of junior pan arrangers, and we've already at the SMC contacted a Trinidadian who lives in the UK, who is a world-renowned pan tuner, to come and to have a workshop or seminars with local pan tuners. So that is one of the things we want to develop capacity here in Grenada for our local pan tuners, and that will significantly cut cost for our local pan movement. So we have already started addressing these issues.
All right, any other details you want to give us concerning the Panorama Championship itself?
Well, I hope you will invite the pan men to come here, and it will be, to come and to give some perspectives on the pan movement themselves. But what I would like to see is, and I mentioned it in a press conference today, is members of the media, the GBN and the other stations, going out to the pan yards and interviewing the pan players and bringing live, from the pan yards what is happening there. We can bring the pan movement alive, but the pan men alone cannot do it, and we need, I believe, the media has a critical role in playing in terms of bringing the pan music to the people. To the general population. Go to the pioneers, do feature on the arrangers, bring some rehearsals on your news and so on and so forth. Let the people know what's going on. I think that's extremely important.
You think there is a good future ahead for pan in Grenada?
Excellent future. And you know how many careers in pan we have had from the steel band movement. Indeed, when after the COVID and so on, and persons were talking about musicians or cultural people who were affected in terms of their employment by the COVID lockdown and so on and so forth, the pan players were most affected. You have persons who are employed full-time playing pan in the hotels and so on and so forth. Full-time. And don't talk about those who go to work on cruise ships and so on. And there are students who go to universities in the US and Europe and so on. And you know what is pan kwai? They make the pan kwai by playing pan and so on. So pan has tremendous potential and so on for livelihoods of pan play of musicians. They are musicians, and yeah.
Okay. I did catch up with one of the listeners I would suspect beyond the headlines today, and he told me that he was trying to get through onto one of my former programs for quite a while. So I'm told that we've got a caller on the line. Caller, good evening. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, good night. Pastor Worme and also Ambassador Gill. Before I make my contribution, before you began the session tonight talking about Africanness, in terms of the United Nations decades of people of African ancestry, what have we done, or why have we not done anything about that? And I'm asking that in the context that right now, if you ask the average Grenadian, who are the black vice presidents in Latin America, most people don't know. I mean, we have a vice president in Costa Rica, actually met about 30 years, almost 30 years ago, and then one recently in Colombia. Are we going to try and sort of make some kind of connection with that? So that being said, you don't necessarily have to answer me. In terms, I want to support Ambassador Gill in terms of when he mentioned the contribution of Sparrow and the fact that where he had been placed, he was able to impact on Grenada. I mean, without necessarily being here as the other people here. So I think it's fitting to mark it. In fact, in 1993, I was on a World Coast Conference in Holland. And after they had this little, thing, they had this little fest. And I was very impressed. Two of the songs that the band played, live band, was Sparrow's song. I think was the one about Gene and Dinah. And then one from Arrow, Hot. I was really impressed. Just as I was impressed when I was in Indonesia and they played Bob Marley song, or in Brazil, Bob Marley song. Now, in case in the situation of Dr. Terra Friday, I think it's fitting also.
Okay, Paula, could you make that another 20 seconds?
Okay, I have the privilege of working with Dr. Friday and also with Brian. I think it's very fitting, but I'm not satisfied over how we treat Melody and Papi Ted.
Okay, thanks. So he's saying that he's not very satisfied with how Melody and Papitet were treated. Care to comment? Or?
Well, I mean, the truth is, Melody and Papitet was before my time, so I'm not in a position to speak with regards to how they were treated and so on. I think, though, that the fact that we named the semi-finals at the Calypso competition after them is in some, whatever small measure it is, fitting for their memory. But I cannot speak much to Papitet and Melody because there was a little time before me.
But obviously you're one of those persons that would be pushing, look, let's see our local personalities, whether it's culture or sports, whoever, contributing immensely.
Of course, I think we have to do that. As a people, as a nation, I think it's good for our soul to ensure that we pay homage to persons who have contributed significantly across all spectrum, not just culture and sports and so on. As I said, whether it's fishing, farming, education health, and so on. I'm involved in culture, so I do what I have to do in culture. But I believe that other persons who are involved in other areas of work, they need to do their part as well to ensure that persons who have contributed significantly in their area of work get this other elevation and recognition that they deserve.
We do have another call on the line. Caller, thanks for holding. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Pastor Worme.
Good evening to you.
And the guy that said that he attached to culture.
You're talking about Mr. Arley Gill?
Yes. I want to ask both of you, who was the first Calypso king in Grenada here? And I will start from there because you are leaving up a lot of important things.
You heard that?
Yeah, but we cannot speak about everything. I can ask the caller, who's the first known Calypsonian? What's his name? And where was he from?
Yeah, I'm from St. Side.
No. I ask you, who was the first known Calypsonian?
Yeah, well, I will tell you Spicemas. In the 50s, Spicemas sang about the schoolgirls of nowadays, taking a man in different ways. Mommy, I'm feeling sick. Send and call the doctor quick. That he won with in those times was Queen's Park, was Leo Gill and them. I don't remember that. And you all never ever highlight Spicemas in the old veteran when I old veteran time. Most of our calling Spicemas and I say Spicemas. They don't feature you. I sang with Spicemas. I'm Sydney Bully there. And if you want a lot of information, my phone number is 444-7604. I'll get a lot of information. So,
all right. Yes, thanks a lot, caller. And I mean, that's what it's all about. We've got to remember that none of us are all knowledgeable. We don't know everything. And it's about learning. It's about passing on invaluable information. Everybody would not know everything. So you have information which you think is pertinent towards our historicity and pertinent to the public knowledge. It's important that you disseminate it. You talk about it. You bring it to the forefront. That's what it's all about, because we all part of the whole arrangement.
Well, not just that, that's why I always encourage persons to write.
And write. You're right.
So that we can learn from you. I don't know everything there is to know about Grenada Calypso or Calypsonians. Every day is a learning. I'm learning about it.
You should write.
So that you encourage persons to write an article, not even a book, an article, 2 pages. Speak about it and so on. Of course, there are a lot of institutional knowledge all across the country, but persons need to.
So we have another call on the line. Caller, good evening. Welcome.
Yeah, pleasant good evening to you, Pastor Worme, and to my good friend Arley Gill.
To you too.
And Arley, I'd just like to say, first of all, thanks for championing the cause and doing what you're doing best. And I would certainly like to say that it is alleged that the new PM said that there will be no victimization. People will be addressed based on their merits and their ability to perform and deliver. You have a lot to offer, and not just as an ambassador, as a true patriot, etc., etc. And I would like to suggest, knowing that you're taking Carnival to the next level, I would certainly like to know if it is possible that we have what you call for the March Gras show, if you could have the King of Kings from the Windward Islands, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada, as a form of special entertainment for the March Gras show at that point in time. Also, I would say too, being part of the yachting industry, we have a lot of boats coming to Grenada, and you talk a lot about the pan, the steel band, and everything. If we could probably foster with probably the marinas and bring in a lot of these young people to see and hear pan in action in Grenada during the carnival period. As you know, Grenada is host for what you call the hurricane shelter, and it will be something interesting. And who knows, maybe they might participate and make some form of contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate that.
Yes, I think the first point the caller made is an excellent point with regards to the March Gras. I say the person's Calypso finals is on Thursday, August 4th. But the March Gras will always be the Sunday, because the March is Sunday in French. It's a really big show. So that there is this issue, and we've had some good discussions informally and so on as to what needs to be done with regards to the March Gras Carnival Sunday going forward. And it's something that we need to look at in terms of what do we do. We do not necessarily have to have a Calypso competition final on that night, but something cultural. And, you know, the caller is suggesting that we look at bringing in the Windward Islands Calypso Kings from St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Dominica. Not a bad idea at all. And regionalize it. I remember some years ago, St. Lucia used to run the OECS Soca Monarch for some years, so that it affords us an opportunity to do something new. So that it's something that we must need to, that we can look at and strategize with regards to that.
Okay.
With regards to the yacht, what we are doing this year as well is trying to do more.
Could I just ask you to pause a bit,
yes.
just in respect to someone who is calling. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Pastor Worme.
Good evening to you.
Good evening, Ali.
Good evening.
How are you?
Not bad, I'm all good.
Yeah. My concern about the forthcoming carnival is the carnival bands and their dress. I remember just before COVID, there was making significant aspects about the way in which the band, those participating in the band were dressed, and they were saying that Grenada should take a specific role in making sure that the fancy band especially dressed properly. But the band's costume that I've seen advertised seem to be greatly disrespectful, and I would like you to address that. The costumes I've seen advertised are strings, and I can't imagine young people exposing their bodies in that manner. And I would greatly like you to address that people go out in the street looking decent.
Okay. Thanks, caller. We appreciate that so very much. Now, Ali, look back back in the earlier days, of course, with Carnival and the bands, and it was a pretty sight. Not that you would have found me in St. George's. If I had run away one day, then I would have to get a home to go back to when I get back home. But there is no question about it. The level of attire or lack of it thereof, it has become a real questionable issue. People are talking about it. It's verging on vulgarity. What can you say about it? Can there be some decency involved, or is decency violently thrown out the window? Is there not room for people still to be decent and to remember, in fact, that morals are still very important?
That's a discussion that we have basically every year, or for the past, I would say, 10 years or so, with regards to the fancy mass aspect of the costumes. And I would say it is a discussion, a national discussion we need to have, even especially out of the carnival season. In other words, we need to engage persons like the color and so the masqueraders, because one, you have the younger persons who wear these costumes. What are their perspectives, right? Why they do what they do, the designs, and so on and so forth. And I would dare say too, it's not just this is not uniquely Grenadian. In fact, Grenada is now getting on to some of these costumes that for years have been portrayed in St. Lucia and Trinidad and Barbados and so on. So it's not unique, it's to Grenada. It's a Caribbean phenomenon basically. And the costume you would see here is a costume you'll see in Barbados, of Antigua, any one of the islands. But we need to have a conversation of what do we do with it, you know. You have the younger generations, to them that is mask, that is costume. And of course you have the older generation who knew that we could have color and splendor and have fun and have costumes and so on, and at the same time there is, as the caller said, some level of decency.
But can the governing body put any guidelines, so to speak, in regards to attire? Can they or they can't?
I would say that's above my pay grade, in the sense that that will have to be a national, will have to be a government policy. You know, I don't see it as an SMC policy with regards to, because then, and that may very well attract constitutional motions as a freedom of expression and all that, and the right to wear what you wear and that kind of a thing. So it's an issue, I believe, that the government of the day would have to probably address. And then we have Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs, we have Ministry of Culture and so on, the Attorney General's office and so on. But it is a recurring theme. It's something that you cannot duck from, basically. But I dare say that this aspect of costuming is not unique to Grenada.
Yes, we have to address, we did not talk about the Queen show, unless it be looked at as though we're biased about it. But we do have a call on the line. Caller, good evening. Thanks for holding. Go right ahead.
A pleasant good evening.
To you too.
I would like to make mention of the glorious days of Grenada with regards to steel band, and I'm wondering whether if there's any documentary about that. And when I talk about glorious, I'm talking about the Gospel Steel Orchestra, where you had the three Marisho brothers, Swellen, Boat, York, Savini. I can't remember the other guys. That was the number one steel band. It was the Gospel Steel Orchestra. Then you had in Mongello, Mikey Bowen. You also had Belmont. And these were the steel bands, of the day. And, you know, people were carried away with the music of these bands. And as a result, I think it's through these various steel bands that some guys were able to get on a tourist boat and play steel band, etc. I think that there should be some time when you can have person to talk about Grenada's glorious days, with carnival, etc. And one of the two types of mass that was played, I can remember very well, Jailhouse Rock and that thing with Audie Murphy, To Hell and Back, played by the people in Green Street. Those were wonderful days. So I don't know what could be done about that. I don't know whether the people now in the studio would know anything about that, but there are persons who probably can invite, to see something about those glorious days.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I should again say to callers and to our caller who's just made his comments that there are people out there with quite a great deal of information, and that's one of the problems we do have here in Grenada. We do not have people who write, we do not have people who record, we pay very little homage to our historicity, we disrespect our history very much. And I don't really want to go too far about it, but just look and see what's taking place. For example, of our National Library has been inactive for more than a decade. Our West Indian collection was among the best in the world, only barring maybe Jamaica and Barbados probably. We've had such an outstanding West Indian collection, but all gone. And so people who do have those pertinent information and can come forward. You've got social media now. People are always into social media. They've got eyes on social media practically every day. So we want to invite people to come forward. We hear names that some of them are foreign to me, and I'm not a spring chicken by any stretch of imagination. So come forward and say something, write something, call a media center, tell them give them a story, and it might be amazing to see how far it would go. So let's talk about the Queen Show. That's on this year?
That's on the 27th of July. That's on our first major show. Everything is in place at the Spice Basket. And I dare say that our Queen Show committee is led by well-known Miss Lexa Medford. Everything is it's a well-oiled committee. We have experienced persons. The young ladies are in training and everything like that. So we can expect a super Queen Show this year. Any prize money involved? I can't remember, of course, the top of my head, the prize money is for the Queen Show, but we're looking for additional value as well, other than the prize. The prize monies, I remember when I was Minister of Culture, we were able to secure a scholarship for the young lady crowned as a queen, and we're hoping that, if not this year, but hopefully in years to come, that we can give significant developmental prizes to our queens, as well as our Groovy and Soca Monarch winners. If we can get them, the Groovy and Soca Monarch winners, Calypso winners, and so on, into, especially the young guys, into music schools, into production schools, and so on. We believe that these are significant areas that we can invest in terms of the prizes, not just in terms of cash, but if we can afford them some training programs as well to build the capacity of what they do, what their passion, that is something we must seriously look at.
Mm-hmm. In terms of preserving our cultural heritage and such like, and there are people, as we've heard from a couple of callers, who have very salient information. They want to pass this on, they want to bring it to the fore. What can you advise them to do? Who can they talk to? How do they disseminate this? I don't think everybody will be. You won't want to hear everybody. Please call Arley Gill. Please call Arley Gill.
But you touch on it partly. National Library. We still have a National Archiving Center. But for the purposes of culture, I personally would like to see the Grenada Cultural Foundation taking up that role too in terms of seriously documenting and archiving different cultural aspects. And, you know, using the latest technology, because I mean, when I was growing up, you had VHS, you had cassettes, you know, you went to DVDs and CDs, flash drive, now you have what, memory stick and so on, so that you have to appreciate that as the technology develop, there are these new mechanisms of storing visuals and audios and so on. And we need to, but of course, we need to have the facility with the right temperature and so on to secure and to preserve all of these things we are speaking about, right? You know, when you speak of a public library now, you ain't building a public library again just to stock books, but you know, you have e-books and so on and so forth. So the new library, the new documentation center and so on must be, you know, in conformation with the latest technology. But I would love to see, you know, the Cultural Foundation, like all of this year, for instance, our major competitions, Soca Monarch, Queen Show, Panorama and so on, must be recorded and documented and preserved. So anybody doing research 10, 15 years from now, they can go to the 2022 Soca Monarch, pull a copy of it and look at the performances and analyze it and so on. We need to make a conscious effort to document what we're doing now for persons, for future generations.
How happy are you with our documentation as a whole over the years, on a scale of 1 to 10?
No, we've been doing a poor job at it. I don't think we're even making a conscious effort to seriously document stuff. You know, every time there are some individuals who are very meticulous with the documentation of things. They'll go put themselves out, and there's some very good private libraries in Grenada. There's some very good private that, you know, I could probably call Trigavi and get all kind of old music and so on and so forth. You give me a lot of talk before I get it. Right? But I will get it, you know. Yes. So there are a lot of private individuals that really secure their stuff and, you know, they document their things and so on and so forth. But generally, we don't have a national center that are properly funded and so on to do those things.
Yeah, it really is a shame. I will be launching a new book in about a month and a half. It's called Trinidad and Tobago Down Memory Lane. And it's interesting because I found it much easier. Not that it was an easy job, it was a very tough job, but I found it much easier to glean information from Trinidad and Tobago, even from here, than I would do a similar project in Grenada and get information. Yeah. So it's something we've got to.
Something we have to. We
must guard our historicity, and we've done a very poor job of it.
It's something we have to look at.
Okay, just to remind callers, we put the number up on the screen just in case you want to call us. We still have another 20 or so minutes on the screen. 440-1252, 440-1252. If you want to call in onto the program, we do have a caller online. Good evening, caller.
Good evening. Mr. Gill, well done, I must say, for the honoring of those veterans who would have passed. I know Trevor would have, think that's quite fitting. But with regard to Juvie and Pan, Pan through the carnival season, barring we have a panorama, but I don't know what could be done so that Pan itself, because on Juvie morning you will get churros have 2 halves of, when I say 2, just a little section. But throughout carnival or on Juvie morning, if more of the Pan could be exhibited so people could, the foreigners, the people coming down could really appreciate Pan instead of just the March Grand, and they may have some Pan somewhere else and people is not there. But I think that carnival as the cultural thing should have Pan as part of its parading and not just DJ man on a truck. Thank you.
Caller, we're doing much more with Pan this year, and on Monday night before the Monday night mass bands hit Kirani James Boulevard and the Carnage. We should have at least 5-6 steel bands. Of course, mobile complement so that they're able to move and so on the streets of St. George. So we are trying to, and I agree with you, we need to do more with PAN. And when we think about PAN should just not be about panorama full stop. Because this PAN men is an important part of our culture, and this PAN men put in hours in mastering their craft and so on, and we have to do more. But this year we're going to be using the steel band in the Monday night parade, much more than the Juve. Yes, I agree with you. On Juve morning, we see Haps might come out, Cheros might come out, Dimension, a small side, and so on. And I don't think it's enough. But at some level, too, we have to appreciate that some of these PAN players, when they rehearsal now, like 6 weeks before Panorama, at some point in time, too, the players want to free up. Just enjoy Carnival rather than just simply playing. And you'll find on Juve morning a lot of the PAN players, they're playing a wicked job as well. So we have to be mindful too that some of the players really want to have some fun. But yes, more PAN, we can do more PAN on Juve morning, but I can promise you that we're going to have a lot of PAN come Monday night.
All right, we've got our final break coming up, so let's take this break now and then we'll be right back for our final segment.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
They are the few, the strong, the elite. Grenada, get ready as our sporting gladiators go for gold and glory at the World Championships. Follow every throw, stride, and jump from July 15th to the 24th. Capture the action daily on GBN television. It's the World Championships. The dream continues.
James is going to win it.
Broadcast of the World Championships 2022 is made possible by Grenada Paper Products, Republic Bank, Demerara Mutual Life, On The Spot Hardware, Grenlec, Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, Grenville Credit Union, National Lotteries Authority, Jedias Pharmacy, Grenada Tourism Authority, Antillian General Insurance, Kenny's Trucking, Spice Isle Imaging Center, and Grenada Corporate Bank.
And welcome back. And just want to remind you, of course, got to let you know that tomorrow, God's willing, there'll be a post-cabinet briefing. Of course, will be hosted by GIS, and GBN will be broadcasting the event. So that's going to be tomorrow, God's willing, at 10 o'clock. The Prime Minister would be there with a couple of his cabinet ministers. So please follow GBN and whatever other media facilities there to know what's taking place. We do have a call on the line. Caller, we thank you for holding. Go right ahead, please.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen, and good night. I just want to speak a little on steel band.
Go ahead.
You're hearing me clearly?
Sorry?
Do you hear me clearly?
We are hearing you clearly.
Right. I'm a lover of steel band from long. From 50s come right up to now. And I'm following steel band. The steel band is what generation? Or the steel band? There's not much steel band in Grenada right now. But I knew when there was 13 steel band in St. George's alone. 13. You had Belmont Springs, Granant, Calais, Marian, Labarrique, St. Paul's, Monjaloo, Caranage, Cooper Hill. You had Team P, you had Happy Hill, a lot of bands, right? But that was in the days of the promotion of Sir Gary, making sure that somebody sponsor a band and these stuff. But what if we can do that now and get the steel band movement going? But one of the things, as Mr. Gill said, we need a steel band now. But in a village, you must have somebody that loves steel band and wants to see a steel band. They could talk about arrange and these kinds of things. But one of the things they have to do, getting somebody to sponsor. And then we are so much, we're not in the 50s and 60s anymore. There's a lot of construction companies in Grenada. Ask them to help to sponsor, to build a proper steel band house for these bands. And these are one of the things that is crippling the steel band movement. They don't have proper housing for the steel band. And if we can do that, that will go a long way. And I look at something that the steel band should have a home in town, like in a Tantin playing field. Around Carnival, that should be the home for steel band. All steel bands around Grenada or whatever they want, they can come and dock inside there. And around play, people can go inside and just hear steel band playing, because this thing with this GV and moving and pushing band, the days of this pushing band is over. So they have to make a home for the steel band like it. They don't be there every time, but around Carnival time. And if they like, I have a design for it. If they want, I could show them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Salient points?
Excellent points. You know, I mean, it just, yeah, Carla is so right. When I was, years ago when I was minister, we started to work on building houses for these bands. When I say house, you know, assisting the steel bands in building a place to store their pan, place where they can rehearse, practice, and every proper panyard need a small theater so they can do live performances. Because I honestly believe that the steel band movement, the steel pan in itself, is an excellent opportunity for young people. And it's an excellent social movement. You see scores and hundreds of young people playing pan. You really don't see that in much other areas in the society, in the community. And so building the pan houses is one. But you need the champions, of course, in the communities. One or two persons have to take the leadership of it and so on. It's a lot of work. You know, it's a lot of work to train, to teach people to play the pan, and the call as sponsors are important because the instruments are expensive.
But do we have such people around? You've told us early on about so many young people who are playing senior-wise, junior-wise, a lot of students. Do we have some older folk there who are willing to pass the art form on?
We have some real committed, dedicated pan players. Maybe what they will need is some support, because they can't do it on their own. And now, unlike long time, everything costs something. You know what I mean? So when you're talking about somebody setting up a small pan side, and they have to travel, use their vehicle, and you're talking about petrol, gas, and so on and so forth. So it's expensive, you know. It's not long time. So there is a cost involved as well. We cannot pretend that finance is not a factor. So that is why you need some sponsorship, you need some support. But I believe there's a good enough cadre of dedicated pan lovers that would make sacrifices, and they make sacrifices and so on to assist in the development of the pan movement. But I would love to see that at least we have a pan side in every parish to begin with. You know.
Were you a little surprised? I don't know how much you followed the build up to the election and all the campaigning. Were you a little surprised that or those matters were not heavily emphasized in the campaigns?
No,
because they weren't.
I'm not surprised at all. Culture and sport generally do not make the front pages of a manifesto. Just as the same as culture and sport do not make the front page of a budget speech. It's just the truth. You know, the investments that we don't see we see spending money in culture and sports as an expenditure. We don't see it as an investment. And so that you speak of everything else, and culture and sports generally become a footnote for politicians. That's the unfortunate truth. I mean, of course, when we do well, when our sportsmen and women do well and so on, everybody applaud. And when we do well in culture and so on, everyone applaud. But there is no denying that culture and sport does not enjoy, especially culture, does not enjoy the prominence we need to give it. So on Carnival now, everybody have all the solutions and everything to say. But I say to persons, the real conversation for Carnival needs to start in September and October, not in June, July, and August. In June, July, and August, it really can't do much. We must establish the policies, have the conversation, have the quarrel, the argument, if you may, in September, October, November, December, and so on. By the time we reach February and March and so on, we start planning for what we're doing in August. But have the discussion months before. So now you see everybody have, let's do this, let's June, July, August. Like part-time lovers of the culture.
Okay.
These some more full-time lovers of the culture. When Carnival finish in August, September, October, we start having a conversation of what we want to see, what we want to do next year, God's willing. I think that's the way it should be.
So we're getting close to the top of the hour, and so we want to be just begin to wrap up now. Any final details you want to give, final thoughts you want to give in regards?
I want to encourage Grenadians to participate at some level. Play mass, play pan, sing a calypso. If you're not doing anything, participate. Pay to go to the calypso tent, support the tents, support the panyards, support. We want to make Spicemas, take Spicemas to the next level. It cannot just be only the persons, the administrators, or the persons actively taking part in doing something. We need every Grenadian to show some support. If you go to the fetes or you go to the calypso tents and so on, you pay 10, it wouldn't broke you, So I would like to encourage participation from my fellow nationals. Grenadians in the diaspora, we know that it's expensive to come. We still want to see you come. And if you can't come this year, we will be streaming all of the major shows live. Please pay a little fee and log in and support us in what we do.
Obviously, they'll be asking what platforms they are.
Yes, well, that will be made available in good time, but that as well provides us with an additional stream of revenue. At the same time, we can bring these events to your living room wherever you are. Beginning with judging night, all of the tents will be streamed live, and we asking persons, alerting persons in the diaspora. We'll charge a small fee, of course, to cover, expenses and so on. But we're asking persons. Those are new initiatives. We're trying to use the technology as much as is possible to expand the Spicemas. So it is to encourage also to, Grenadians. We have a lot of visitors coming. We have a lot of persons from the diaspora coming. One of our biggest strengths, Spiceman's biggest strength, is our security. Grenada is known for its peacefulness. Persons can come here and feel safe. We want to keep it like that. So let me make a plug for us to conduct ourselves, properly, of course, and to welcome our visitors and to ensure that we give them a good Grenadian welcome and ensure that they have a peaceful environment for which to enjoy themselves.
Any oil dung emphasis?
Plenty oil dung, Manish waters, brown dung. I couldn't forgive me if I say cuckoo and fish and okra.
I'm sorry. I'm a perpetual hater of okra.
No, I say to persons all the time, they say we have all those our national dish. I say, well, I can't live on karakou,
right?
Because it's you have kukupoa, and the fish and so on and so forth.
I don't think Petit Martinique will be happy that its name is not mentioned, right? So please say Petit Martinique.
Karakou and Petit Martinique, yes. Shack foreign and so on and so on, right? So that we want to encourage, and that's why we do in the Kambule on Sunday. The Kambule Sunday, during the day we want to elevate our culinary culture, across the island, where we cook proper Grenadian food, from pea soup to oil dung to brown dung to Grenadian food. That's an extremely important part of our culture that we need to elevate as well. I believe there's tremendous potential in that area.
What's your favorite though? What's your favorite?
That's a hard question.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You're a lover of all of them.
I love all of them, So I think that is something that we really want to elevate our culinary culture, and we're asking persons to take part in the Kambule Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Well, Arley, I want to really thank you so much for coming on Beyond the Headlines tonight, just to brief us as to what's taking place. You seem to be fairly satisfied with how things are going, and I certainly want to wish you the best for your 2020 season.
Thank you so much. I think we are on track, and things are going well. Of course, we have a sort of a late start in terms of the rollout for Spicemas because of the elections and so, but we will be fine, and Spicemas, the return is here.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. But that's all we've got on our program tonight. Again, thanks to Arley Gill for coming here and sharing with us. And for those of you who called in and gave us your comments, we appreciate that very much. And don't forget, if you know that you've got some very important information pertinent to the history of our country and other fine details, don't be afraid to get that out so that we can maintain our historicity. That's all the time we've got on Beyond the Headlines. Until next week, God's willing, Stephenson, Worme, have a good one.